Former U.S. Army First Lieutenant Michael Behenna has won his parole. Behenna was convicted in 2009 of unpremeditated murder in a combat zone and ultimately sentenced to 15 years in prison. The 30-year-old's family recently appeared before the U.S. Army Clemency and Parole Board in Washington, D.C. Behenna's family presented a 400-page report that included letters from Michael, Governor Mary Fallin, and members of Oklahoma's congressional delegation. The Edmond native received a letter early Wednesday morning stating his parole had been granted. He then immediately called his family.
We've been waiting for a decision. We're now in the 5th week since we had the parole hearing. And so you're kind of, you get that kind of, oh God, what is the news? I mean, I knew he had news on the parole hearing. And so I answered and I said, Michael, and he said, hey, Mom. I said, well, how's everything going? He said, well, it's okay. I heard on the parole decision, and I said, okay. And, he's stretching it out, and then he says, well, they've paroled me, Mom. I'm going to come home, and I just started bawling. I just started crying immediately, and
it just felt like a huge weight lifted. That, like you said, it's been 5 years. It seems like a lot longer because I can't even remember prior to when he went in. Of course, he was deployed for a year, so he hadn't been here for over 6 years. But at the same time, it's just the thought of him walking through the front door was just something that I tried to envision. But when he told me he was coming home, I could see him actually walk through the front door, so it was good.
And a lot of people say, Michael lost 5 years of his life, but I don't see it like that. Michael used this time in ways that you and I can only think about. And when I say that, what I'm talking about is the time to actually read and study and think and meditate. I mean, he's done all of that.
He feels like, over the last 5 years, he's realized how valuable time is. Yeah. And so even if he lost 5 years of his life in prison, like Vicki said, he used it wisely, but even so, he knows when he gets out, he will not waste time.
10 other guys at Fort Leavenworth right now who've been incarcerated for decisions they made while been in a combat zone serving their country. And I won't stop. I don't think Scott will, and I don't think Michael will until all those guys are home.
Combat-related situations, I don't feel somehow translate easily to the criminal world, and we so easily move them from a combat situation into a civilian type legal system that to me doesn't work. Even though they're prosecuted under the UCMJ, it's still we're making criminals out of these young men who make very difficult decisions, much more difficult decisions than. I was a police officer for 30 years, and I've never had to worry about whether I can go home at night and sleep. Every day, every minute they're there, they're worried about themselves, their brothers. Who's going to attack them? That kind of stress wears on you, and for someone to second guess a decision you make in an environment like that, and make you a criminal, or say that you're a criminal because of the actions you took, is wrong. And these guys, if they need to be punished, they've certainly been punished enough. They need to come home to their families.
No, I mean, Michael's saddled with a criminal conviction. He's a felon. So all those civil rights that you and I enjoy, being able to vote,
hold office, own a gun,
he can't do. So that's why I say, I mean, the next step is at some point, I don't know when it will come, but I'll keep working for a presidential pardon.
Behenna will be released from Fort Leavenworth, Kansas on March 14th. He has served 5 years of his 15-year sentence. This was the first year he was eligible for parole. You can find more coverage online at newsok.com.